Hey guys, it's Friday night and I fucked up and I'm suffering for my art. So I hope you fuckers watch this and learn from it. I've jacked my shoulder up pretty good. It's dislocated right now as I'm filming this, and I'm in a lot of pain with it. I just took a pain pill. I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was something. And I'm going to have some really high-end whiskey here, thanks to Drew, one of my training partners, because I need to get this muscles relaxed because I'm so dense that it's going to be a son of a bitch to put this back in place. I've never done it before, but to tell you the truth, I don't feel like a long drive to a hospital, which is not anywhere nearby here, and spend a bunch of money for them just to do what I can do myself. So let's see how this works. First, let me show you how jacked up this fucking shoulder is. All right, here's the normal one, okay? Right? Now look at what this rear delt looks like with this thing out of place on this left one, which I can't even rotate backwards. Look at that fucking monster rear delt. Who's got a rear delt like that? Me. Yeah, it's a monster rear delt, isn't it? I can't even turn my arm back and stand up straight with it. That's because the fucker's out of socket and there's so much muscle right there, it's not coming back in. And when this happens, apparently the trauma makes the muscles tighten up as it sits. I came back from the gym all the way in the car like this. It was excruciating. And so now it's kind of locked in position. What I'm going to try and do is hold this 20-pound dumbbell in my hand. I'm going to lay on this counter because it's the correct height. Dangle this arm free off the side, my shoulder hanging off as I lie across here prone. And I'm going to use these wrist straps and these hooks so that I can basically tie this dumbbell to this left hand. That way I don't have to make a fist and hold it. And I'm just going to let it hang. And it can take 10 or 20 minutes. And hopefully if I can relax enough and the muscles relaxed enough, it will very slowly slide back into place where it wants to go. If it doesn't, then I'll try a 35-pound dumbbell because this is only 20 and I probably need a heavier dumbbell. And if that doesn't fucking work, then I'm gonna have to have some help from my other training partner who's filming this, and then we're gonna really do some fucking fucked up shit to try and get it back in socket, and hopefully we can do it. So I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but, and how did this happen, you might ask, after so many years and so much experience training? Because I did exactly what I tell you fuckers not to do. I went too fucking heavy and I knew better. And you know how you always get hurt going heavy? When you jerk the fucking weight. And that's what I did. I decided to go too heavy and I slung the weight up. Heavy dumbbells on inclines. And pow, 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 popped 3 times, came right out of socket. Fucked up thing, didn't even get a good workout in. I was just in the first exercise. So I'm gonna have this shot. Then I'm going to sign off, and then we'll resume once this sets in and I let this hang. Maybe we can even catch it sliding back in and see what it looks like. Alright, so be back momentarily. Boom. Alright, so the other evening in the gym, as you just saw, that piece of footage was shot immediately upon arriving home from the gym, where I cut my workout very short due to an injury. And of course, as is most often the case when I've been injured, especially as I've gotten older, it's because I forget my own advice and I get sloppy. When you get sloppy and sling weight, that's when you're gonna, open yourself up to the possibility of injury, and that's anybody. But it's particularly true for older guys, and especially true if they have a long background of bodybuilding or, training for hypertrophy because of all the micro tear after micro tear upon micro tear that occurs just as a natural progression over the years. And it's been my experience that makes the muscle, just puts it in a situation where it's more prone to be injured if, you can't get away with as much as you could otherwise get away with. In other words, you're still basically most likely going to do something wrong, but rather than get away with it, you're going to destroy something. So as you get older, you have to be careful. After you've spent years and years in this game, you have to be more careful, and that's why you see a lot of older bodybuilders or guys that have been around, built a lot of muscle over a period of decades. Toward the end, they begin to sustain a lot of injuries and a lot of tears and stuff like that. And that's because it's really hard on the body. It's really hard on the body. You may not be subjecting the joints to the weight, that a strength athlete does, but the micro tears on top of micro tear and micro tear, just it's like a non-stop process, because you're always, every time you're in there, it's what you're out to do, and it wears on you. Okay, that's why I believe, and this is just my opinion here, and it's based on observation and experience. I believe that you probably could have more luck taking a power lifter, and he could probably have a better shot at turning into a bodybuilder successfully than if a bodybuilder, and I'm talking about a long-term bodybuilder, decides in the twilight, to switch over and become a powerlifter or a strength athlete. Not saying it can't be done, just saying that, sooner or later you're going to get to that point along the ways. Besides the damage you've self-inflicted, just tearing down the body over and over, repeatedly pounding the muscle. But you're going to get to the point eventually where you're just not producing the growth hormone. And, growth hormone is not really cheap. And I'm not a guy that likes to stick himself with a bunch of shit anyway. Contrary to what people may look at and assume, I don't like that kind of stuff. So, I don't supplement growth hormone. And growth hormone is something that I should supplement. As an older guy, it wouldn't be much. It could be very small, very low dose, and it would have a lot of benefit for a guy like me. It would help protect my connective tissue, and just a lot of the usual stuff and positive attributes that older people can experience from supplementing growth hormone. But in my case, it'd be particularly useful with helping to protect, or preserve my connective tissue. Because that's what's really at stake when you're getting a little out of line in the gym at an older age with a physique like mine that's been beaten and beaten and beaten. And so what I did was I got really sloppy. Have I thrown up more weight like that sloppy before? Sure I have. Been quite a while. I'm already doing sets of 20 reps with these weights, so I'm not really, it's not like I'm throwing up something so heavy that I can't even handle it at all. But it's just a position. It was the position of the incline that I happened to have on the bench, the two heavy dumbbells, and they weren't terribly heavy. They were like 100-pound dumbbells. But I've already done, I've worked up progressively, jumping up 10 pounds, at a time, 10 pounds in each hand at a time, and probably warmed up with something really crazy light, like 35, and then 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, and then, maybe from 85 to 100, just to make even numbers. So I had hundreds, and I'm doing like 20 rep sets, 25 rep sets. So I'm just still warming up. And, when I threw them back, I picked them up and go to lean back, but I had to throw them and lean back and stop them. And it wasn't high enough that I could easily do it, and it wasn't so low that I could just, lay them on my knees and roll back, or lay them on my chest and roll back like I would normally would do. It was kind of in between. It was kind of not really an angle that I commonly use, and that's why I was doing it, because it was an uncommon angle for me, so just trying to stimulate some things a little differently. And when I threw the weights back, the left one, I felt pop, pop, pop. Almost thought I could hear it, and it was the usual sensation you get when you tear, connective tissue, pop, 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 and it pulled and tore. And of course I dropped the bells immediately and knew something bad had just happened. And you know, you saw what it looked like when I got home. It's still pretty inflamed, swollen up. It's got a lot of fluid on it, and you know, I don't know what it looks like there. You can still see that rear delt. There's a lot of fluid on it. It's slowly being reabsorbed, and it's beginning to bruise. I don't know if you can see it here. It's starting to bruise, so in a way that's a good sign, because I know it's a tear. But anyway, I thought it was dislocated, so I was trying to get it back in socket. Well, it turns out it wasn't dislocated. I ended up going to the hospital after a few unsuccessful attempts at trying to relocate this thing or reduce this thing. And they took a few x-rays. Didn't really see what they wanted to see from the x-ray, so they wanted to know a little more, so they did a CAT scan to the shoulder. And she showed me the CAT scan, and you could see that it was, you know, the ball was in the socket. The joint was still there, but apparently I've torn a ligament, some connective tissue underneath of there, you know, at the ball and socket, and that's what all the trauma is. So, you know, it's been immobile. I've immobilized it, taken some pain medication, not right this minute, but that's what I've been doing, and it's been quite uncomfortable. Now today I can move it a little bit, but I still can't, you know, take a shower and dry off with a big cotton towel, and with it wet, I really can't hold it out in this left hand. The shoulder won't let me do it, so it's pretty fucked up. But I would predict that probably, you know, will they have to have surgery? Will they operate on it? Maybe. Have to wait and see what becomes of it. Now the right shoulder I had blown out several times. It used to be a common fucking problem, and I rehabbed it myself, and I never had any surgery. And it's, you know, not the one that gave out this time. It holds up fairly well, but I'm mindful of it, so I'm going to have to be very careful. It's going to definitely change the course of my workouts for the next several months, I'm sure, maybe the rest of the year. You know, so I'm hoping that I can still do lower body, and I'm hoping that in, I don't know, maybe a month, I should be able to do some upper body stuff. I'm just going to have to be very careful, you know, stabilizing, and probably have to use a lot of machines and plate loaded stuff. But that's where it is. So when I tell you guys, you know, be careful the amounts of weight that you're using. It's not always necessary. And don't get sloppy with your form. 9 times out of 10, when I have torn something and been injured, it's been because I jerked the weight or got sloppy with the weight or threw it around or something like that. I tore a bicep one time jerking the weight up, you know, and I was deadlifting many years ago. Doesn't always happen that way. Tore quad years back and didn't see that one coming. But I was training really, really heavy at the time with some really strong guys, and doing more of a power lifter type of approach to my bodybuilding, and it kept me really thick, much thicker than I am now, and dense. But you know, I tore quad, snapped away at my leg, and that was like the most excruciating thing ever. But anyway, so that's the story with the injury. I'm going to get this up and posted, and you know, I also haven't really done legs for. Now I've been back to doing legs probably for about a month and a half or so, maybe 2 months. And prior to that, I hadn't really done an honest leg workout in way over a year. But my legs were so big before that, you know, just got tired of training them all the time. You know, I had scaled down. I'm just starting to blow back up now. This past year, I just decided to get bigger again, because I had some plans that I rather fancy that I might take on, maybe, not sure yet, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's the deal with that. Let me get off here, get this posted. Take care, and be careful what you're doing, and pay attention to what you're doing, and use an intelligent approach, and don't get too carried away. Other than that, have a great weekend, and get your swole on.